Welcome to Good to Know. Today, we're tackling a question that hits us in the most surprising moments, like a wedding, a baby being born, a big win, or a heartfelt reunion. The question is, why do we cry when we're happy? Tears are often linked to sadness, grief, or pain. But sometimes, we cry at the happiest moments of our lives. Why does joy trigger tears? What's happening in the brain, and what do our tears really mean? Let's dive into the science of emotions, crying, and what those happy tears are trying to tell us. Crying is a uniquely human behavior. Other animals produce tears to lubricate their eyes, but only humans shed emotional tears. We produce 3 types of tears. 1. Basal tears, keep our eyes moist and healthy. 2. Reflex tears, respond to irritants like onions or wind. 3. Emotional tears, triggered by strong feelings, sadness, joy, frustration, awe. Emotional tears are chemically distinct. They contain stress hormones like ACTH, endorphins, natural painkillers, and protein-based molecules that signal emotional arousal. In other words, crying when we're emotional is more than an overflow of feelings, it's a biochemical release. When you cry, your brain is lighting up like fireworks, especially in regions tied to emotion and empathy. The limbic system, especially the amygdala and hypothalamus, helps process emotion. These areas interact with the brainstem, which controls tear production. When we're overwhelmed by joy or sorrow, our brain floods our body with signals. If those signals surpass a certain threshold, tears are triggered. But here's the interesting part. Crying from joy and crying from pain activate many of the same neural pathways. The difference is in the context. Crying from happiness might sound paradoxical, but there's actually good science behind it. Researchers call this a dimorphous expression, when we display one emotion, crying, in response to the opposite feeling, joy. Other examples include laughing when nervous, screaming when excited, crying when overwhelmed with love or beauty. So why does this happen? Theory 1. Emotional regulation. When we feel too much, our brain helps us balance it out. Crying may help release excess emotional energy to bring us back to baseline. Theory 2. Evolutionary signaling. Tears signal vulnerability. In moments of joy, like reuniting with loved ones or experiencing deep connection, crying may be a social cue that says, "This moment matters." Theory 3. Conflicting emotions. Joyful crying often happens when we feel more than one thing at once, like joy and relief, gratitude and nostalgia, love and fear of loss. That emotional complexity spills over as tears. Why would humans evolve to cry? Biologists believe emotional tears have deep social roots. Unlike other bodily responses like sweating or heart rate, tears are visible. They're a powerful nonverbal signal. Tears can elicit empathy and support, de-escalate conflict, deepen emotional bonds, show sincerity. When we cry in moments of joy, especially around others, it may strengthen social connection and group cohesion. In fact, babies rely on crying as their first language. Adults, in a sense, are still using tears to communicate feelings too big for words. Let's look at the kinds of moments that commonly make us cry happy tears. 1. Big achievements, graduations, marathons, recovering from illness. When we push ourselves to the limit and succeed, tears often follow. Why? It's a release of stress, tension, and joy all at once. 2. Love and commitment. Weddings, proposals, reunions after long separation. These moments light up the emotional brain like fireworks. It's the joy of connection, trust, and shared meaning. 3. Birth and new life. The first time someone holds their child. It's awe, fear, and love collapsing into one unforgettable moment. 4. Art and music. A powerful piece of music, a touching movie, a breathtaking painting. These can tap into deeply personal memories or stir universal truths and bring us to tears. 5. Nostalgia and gratitude. Sometimes we cry because we're overwhelmed with gratitude, especially when looking back on difficult journeys, healed relationships, or lives well lived. Far from being a weakness, crying, including happy crying, can actually be healthy. Research shows that crying can lower cortisol, the stress hormone, release endorphins that reduce pain, activate the parasympathetic nervous system, helping us relax, improve mood regulation, and socially, people who cry in response to others' joy or pain are often seen as more empathetic, more trustworthy, more emotionally intelligent. Crying with others, especially during joyful moments, may be one of the deepest bonding experiences humans can share. What if you don't cry at weddings, reunions, or award shows? Are you broken? Cold-hearted? Not at all. Some people process emotion inwardly, were raised in cultures or homes where crying was discouraged, have nervous systems that regulate emotion differently, associate crying with vulnerability or danger due to past trauma. Others may experience joy more as stillness or awe than tears. And that's okay. Whether you tear up or stay dry-eyed, your emotional experience is still valid. Crying is universal, but how we respond to it varies widely by culture. In some cultures, crying in public is a sign of strength and community. Tears are part of major celebrations, weddings, birthdays, even promotions. In others, crying is seen as something to hide, especially for men. Emotional restraint is praised, and tears are saved for private moments. But across cultures, happy crying often breaks the rules. It slips past our defenses, reminding us we're human, alive, and connected. Happy tears are more than just emotional overflow. They're messages from the soul. They say, this moment matters. This is real. You made it. You are not alone. Joyful crying reminds us that even in a world filled with chaos, pain, and stress, there is still beauty. There is still awe. There is still something worth celebrating. So, why do we cry when we're happy? Because emotion is complex. Because our brains are wired for connection. Because sometimes words just aren't enough. Have you ever cried from joy? What moment brought you to tears? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to hear it. If this video moved you, give it a like. Subscribe for more thoughtful explorations of the human experience. And ring the bell for the next good to know drop. Sometimes the tears say what the heart can't. And that is something beautiful.